Okay, we're recording. Hi, Erin.
Hi, Bonnie.
Welcome to ANDIAMO.
Thank you for
Episode. Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for saying yes to this. We are on episode 3, and I'm so excited to have you with
Thank
me
you.
today.
Thanks.
Yeah. So for anyone else that may watch this, and we were just laughing again at how we're doing this for ourselves first. we don't know if anyone will watch this. If they do, great. And if they do, hopefully they'll get something out of it.
Right.
But you and I are just going to enjoy, as two lovers of travel, we're just going to enjoy this chat together and see where it goes. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay, wonderful. So for anyone else who may be watching, I didn't do the math ahead of time. I'm trying to think of how long you and I have known each other.
Well,
A long, long time.
it would be almost 25 years.
How does that happen?
No.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. Now that I've gotten over that shock. Thanks for doing the math for me. I love that. I love that. And what I just want to say to people who don't know you is I'd love to say who you are to me, who you've been to me for this 25 years, which is such a bright light. When I think of you, I think of someone who is so big-hearted, so caring, so I'll say devoted, and seems to get so much joy as well from just being helpful, just being of help to others. When I think of Erin Plumb, that's who I think of. So
Thank you.
oh, you're so welcome. All the more reason I'm so excited to get to do this with you today. So thank you for saying yes to this.
Oh, well, you're welcome. I think so much of you, and I always have. So I was happy to have, the opportunity just to catch up with you.
I know, exactly, right? So much catching up to do at the same time. So let's kick off this conversation. And we'll just share a little up front that kind of the purpose of us coming together, kind of the theme that brought us together to have this conversation was that you've been on an adventure recently. You and your husband chose to go on an RV trip for a couple of weeks.
Yes,
So yeah, and we'll share that you are both furloughed from your jobs right now.
Mhm.
So just to kick off the conversation, I would love to hear how did the idea for this trip come about? Was this something you had already talked about, dreamed about? Is the fact that the two of you are furloughed right now, was that a factor in choosing to do it right now? So I would love to just hear how the trip came about in the first place.
Okay. Yeah, so I was furloughed the beginning of April. And I'm sorry, yeah, the beginning of April. And my husband was furloughed about a month after that. But he had been, working at home. He was still out in the field seeing customers. And we just started talking. We had bought a little, just a 20-foot RV. It was just a year in March. So we didn't grow up, well, I grew up camping as a Girl Scout, he was a Boy Scout, but we didn't raise our kids as campers per se. It's something that we just started recently. I had actually purchased a 1970 Cardinal about 3 years ago.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I had wanted to buy one and just kind of redo it. I wanted a glamper. I had wanted that for a long time,
Uh-huh.
and found something online, and my husband was really supportive, and he was like, sure, why not,
Oh my goodness.
And so it didn't need much work. It just really our personal touches, and just a few things that we have some friends that are RVers, and so they, lent a hand on some of the more mechanical things that needed. working on. And we camped with that maybe 3 times. It was only 10 feet long. It had a full-size bed and a tiny, cute little kitchen.
Uh-huh.
It didn't really have a working bathroom. And so we used that a handful of times. And my husband said, you know, if we're going to continue doing this, it might be nice to have something a little bit bigger, and a bathroom would be a plus.
It's the little things in life.
Yeah. I loved that little trailer. I mean, it was just adorable. And I listed it for sale, and I ended up selling it to a family that had lost their home in the Malibu fire.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they're a wonderful family. They had a property, and on the property, they already had a vintage trailer that the wife had used as her office.
Okay.
And what she was trying to create was just this family, a community for her kids. She has 3 kids.
Yeah.
And so she bought ours for their teenage son. That was going to be his personal space. And then she was shopping for another one, a larger one for her daughters to share. And then they were going to build a yurt in the center that would be their common living area for the family.
And was this like a transitional plan while they were rebuilding their
while
home?
they were rebuilding?
That is so creative.
Yeah. So
I love that.
I see it go, but I knew that it was, you know, going to a beautiful place. And
yeah, such a good purpose.
Yeah. So so I told my husband Jeff at that time, I said, you know, this is your out now. Like, if you're really not camping thing, just seriously just say so, and we don't need to pursue, you know, looking for something else. And he's like, no, I really enjoy this. So we have some great friends that we had already been camping with a couple of times, and they went on a field trip to the RV show with us, and that was, you know, completely overwhelming.
And a whole new world, sort of.
But it was so educational for us, and we learned so much, and we, you know, went through so many different models, and we were kind of limited to what we could tow with our SUV. Okay. So that really put parameters on, you know, what we could purchase. So in a nutshell, we ended up purchasing this cute, it's called a Riverside Retro. So it's a new trailer that looks retro, and it has a full working bathroom with a shower, and all of the nice amenities that we didn't have before. So
yeah,
and we love.
I'm sorry to interrupt, and we have a little delay on our video conference too. So yeah. It's probably going to keep happening, and that's okay. We'll just keep talking over each other. I was just going to say that I love that new that has the retro touches. It reminds me of Chris and I, my husband, occasionally will go house hunting and, you know, just see what's out there. And we're so drawn to the character homes, you know, the historical homes. And so we appreciate the charm of them. And yet at the same time, it's a little scary and it feels like so much work, you know, to maintain one of those. So it's like that perfect combination of like, it's the charm, but with the modern comforts.
Right.
Updates is such a wonderful combination.
Exactly. Yeah. So we bought that. It was a year ago in March, and we actually, over the last year, we used it a lot. I mean, we would just go to, you know, 20 minutes away to O'Neill Park for a weekend. We camped in San Clemente, Temecula, down by Crystal Cove, in Newport Beach. And so we really, really enjoy that. And I mean, we love to travel as well, but this is just a nice, you know, quick little weekend getaway. We never really traveled very very far. I mean, the furthest we went was Temecula. And we typically would camp with another couple and our families. Kids would join us, you know, for a night here and there. And so when we were on furlough, I have a cousin that lives south of Denver, and she has a 35-acre horse ranch. And we just kind of got to talking one day and just started throwing out some ideas, you know, maybe we could take this show on the road for a little bit and escape from this right now. And so I texted my cousin. She's always been asking us to come and stay. She has, you know, kidded for the last year, you guys need to, you know, pull your trailer out here and hang out. So I texted her and I said, would you be open to a visit? And she was, I mean, she's just one of my most favorite people ever. She's so generous, and she's like, absolutely, you get in your car and you make your way out here. So we planned for a couple of days. We were going to go later in May, but then there was a possibility that my sister and her 2 kids were going to meet us, and they live in Minnesota. So we were trying to work it around her being able to come as well, and that didn't work out, unfortunately. But so yeah, we planned. We just kind of got online and started plotting out our driving course and how many hours a day we wanted to drive and different things that we wanted to see along the way. And yeah, just we kind of went from there. We had, you know, a general plan in place, and we knew when we were hoping to arrive in the Denver area, and we really didn't know how long we were going to stay with my cousin. I had one of my kids that was staying here at the house taking care of our dogs, and he was so thrilled for us. He's like, I'm so happy that you guys are doing it. You're going to have such a great time. He himself had just gone on a road trip across the United States about 1.5 years ago. So yeah, we kept it pretty, you know, we wanted to take our time and try to see some things along the way. This was really our first big trip. And, you know, our first day we made it to St. George. We had reserved a place to stay in St. George. That was our longest driving day.
Okay.
And really that was just an overnight stay. We kept our meals really simple. We prepared things at home that we could just, you know, because we knew after a long day of traveling, we weren't gonna, and we do love to cook. And we joke with our friends that we eat better when we're camping. I mean, not really, but it's all about the food when we go camping.
Actually, what we're discovering through this ANDIAMO show is that all travel is all about food, the food, really. I think it's come up in every conversation so far. And it's another common love and passion that we all share if you love to travel. Yeah. Most of us love food as well. And really, they're one of the same. Yeah.
Well, I had actually texted my former boss before we went out on this trip. He lives in Utah now with his wife. And I said, hey, we're doing this road trip, and we may be gone for a couple of weeks. And when we are coming back through Utah, if the national parks have opened up, would you be interested in joining us? And he was like, let me think about it. Let me talk to my wife. And so we just were kind of texting off and on throughout our trip. And once I knew more the date that we were going to be coming back, I checked in with him, and we were hoping to visit Arches National Park. We had never been there, but they were not opening until later in the month. But Zion National Park was opening 2 days after we were going to be in that, or I'm sorry, 2 days before we were going to be in that area.
Oh,
and we
wonderful.
were thrilled. And we had been there twice before, so we were really, really excited to go back and spend some more time there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, our trip going out to Colorado was really pretty. We had no issues. I mean, this was a test for my husband. He did all the driving. And again, I think it gave him a lot of confidence for us to do another trip like this. Driving through the Vail Pass, that was something you didn't know what to expect, how difficult it might be, what was the weather going to be like, all of these, unknown factors.
Yeah.
So yeah, we stayed in a couple more campgrounds, one near the Utah-Colorado border, in an area called Green River. And again, that was just a stopover. We didn't do any sightseeing. And then we stayed in a campground near Aspen in a little town called Silt. And the campground was absolutely gorgeous. It was right on the Colorado River. And it was just amazing. I mean, just so beautiful. The weather was great. And we had then decided on our way home, we would stay there again, but spend 2 nights and really enjoy the area and do some hiking and things like that. So we were happy to do that on our way home. And our time in Colorado was wonderful. My cousin and her husband are just such kind people. We just had such a great time with them, just really enjoying their ranch, hiking around their property. She boards horses there, and her daughter is an equestrian. She gives lessons and she trains there. So I was able to go horseback riding one day and just really enjoy being there. We didn't really take any day trips like we thought we were going to. It was just, their home is just on this hilltop and you're just looking down and you can see Denver off in the distance. And we really felt like we were in Tuscany. Just the views reminded us so much of Tuscany. So, but yeah, we hung out with them and we cooked and just enjoyed each other's company and just, enjoyed. I started to get a little homesick after 4 days. I mean, 4 days of being there, we had already been on our trip for over a week, and I really started to miss my dogs.
Yeah.
And I think if they had been with us, we probably would have spent more time there. But yeah, we were wanting to start to make our way back home because we had some other side trips that we wanted to do. So, yeah, we spent 2 days near Aspen at just this gorgeous campground. One of the ladies that was in the office there recommended a beautiful hike. We hiked up to the waterfalls, Rifle Falls, and it was just exactly what we wanted. Perfect hike. And started making our way towards Zion. For some reason, I thought my husband would be a little more open to a quick little side trip. So I had, during the course of our trip, started downloading different apps. We follow different people's blogs. And like I said, we didn't really do a ton of preparation for the trip. We were really just, we're going to kind of wing this and see kind of what comes our way. And really, it did work out great because we travel well like that. But on my one app that I had open, I said, oh my gosh, we're just a few miles from the Colorado National Monument. We should go check it out. So, you're towing a 20-foot long vehicle. It was probably not the best idea to throw that in there. I could tell my husband as we're driving, he was getting a little more nervous. Like, how is this really going to go? It's not like we're just going to unhitch and spend the day here. And so we kind of scrapped that plan once we got to the gate to the park. There was nobody there because the national parks, while they're open, they don't always have rangers. So we kind of scrapped that. I could see his frustration and his just nervousness about, going into this situation while we're towing. So we scrapped that. And I said, okay, no more spontaneous side trips while we're towing.
Lesson learned.
Lesson learned. Yeah. So we have been to Zion twice before, and if you've never been, put it on your bucket list. It's absolutely breathtakingly gorgeous. If you have the opportunity to hike the Narrows, which is the Virgin River. Our first trip there, we had planned to hike it, but because of the weather and thunderstorms being in the forecast, it was closed.
Yeah.
We did other hikes. And then we went back the following summer and we were able to hike the Narrows, and it was just amazing. I don't even know how to describe that. It's just something that you should do. It's not a difficult hike. And again, your safety is always their first priority. They will not open it if there is any chance of a situation with flash flooding.
Yeah.
So we chose a campsite that was really close to the main entrance of the park. From what little information we could get is that the park was open. Parking inside the park was very limited. So we wanted to be close enough where if we couldn't get in with our car, that we could then just walk, and that was an option for us.
Mm-hmm.
But we really lucked out. We headed in at 7:30 in the morning, and we got, I think, one of the last parking spots. And we were able to do 2 amazing hikes that day. We did so much in one day. It was unbelievable. I mean, it really wasn't crowded, not like it normally is. And we hiked the Upper Emerald Pools, which is a pretty moderate hike, but there were only a few options available. So we did that and came down, and then we saw a sign that said Scout Overlook, 2 miles. And so we're like, why not? We have, time. Let's do this. And so we started out, and it was very flat, and we were like, oh, this is great. This is going to take us to a beautiful overlook. And the difficulty started increasing, and we could see like where this was leading us to. Mm-hmm. But we had our friends with us, and my girlfriend, she is fearless, and she kept us going. One of our group did kind of drop out, which was totally fine. Mm-hmm. And he said, you know what, you guys, you just keep on going, you take as much time as you need. And we made it to the top, and luckily we ran into a ranger at one point who kind of gave us an idea of what to expect from that point on. And other hikers coming down were, just great, saying, you've got some more switchbacks, but then it's going to flatten out again, and then you're almost there. And at that point, that's what I needed to hear.
A little reassurance. Always helpful.
But yeah, we made it to the top. And if you're familiar with Zion, Angels, is it Angels Landing or Angels Flight? Very well-known trail. That's when you get to the top of the Overlook, that's where you begin this Angels Landing, I think it is, hike. But that was closed at that time, but that was fine. I was not interested in doing that. I mean, they make it very clear, 10 people have passed away doing this hike. You can you see where it begins. and literally the chains are drilled into the side of the mountain.
Mhm.
And I was like, nope, I am good. The hike we did was absolutely amazing. I mean, even when you're taking the pictures, you think these photographs are not going to do this justice. The
Yeah.
magnitude of where we are and how far we've come up, it doesn't do it justice. So
Yeah.
if anybody ever watches this, I do really recommend the Scout Overlook. It's amazing, amazing. So
Yeah. And I love the connection you made a few minutes ago to, if for people that have traveled abroad, we can really kind of fall in love with the romance of that and get so taken in by sites that we've never seen before, and sometimes think we have to go that far to see spectacular sites like that. And yet we have so many of those right where we live in our own country, in our own state, regardless of where we live, within the US. And so I love how traveling both abroad and, not so far away, it kind of helps you appreciate both of those experiences even more. You just gain appreciation for beauty that's all around us at all times, and how blessed we are to have that in our lives.
oh yeah, I mean it's literally in our backyard, I mean ours, but just so spectacular, and there's just so much more to do than we even touched on while we were there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing all of that. Was there more to the itinerary that you wanted to highlight?
No, I mean we did have one little hiccup. So just to share kind of a funny, again, we just had this trailer for a year, so our warranty was up in March. And of course, why can't something happen, while you're still under your warranty, basically? But we did have a situation where our shower started leaking into the cabin.
Okay.
It turned out to be kind of a minor fix, but still it's like, troubleshooting and trying to figure out, okay, we ruled out, this and called the manufacturer back in the Midwest and said, this is what's happening. Can you help us just troubleshoot what this might be? And she said, well, I know exactly what it is.
You're not the only ones.
Only ones. So yeah, but otherwise it was just such a great trip and such a confidence booster for us, to know that we're going to do another long trip. And I'm so sorry, my dogs are scratching at the door.
That's okay. Love to have pets interjecting.
But yeah, it was great. It was just such a nice escape, and just to spend time together and not a lot of distractions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I loved hearing, kind of your initial intentions on choosing this adventure right now. I would love to hear more about, obviously you had some reasons for choosing this right now, and things that you were hoping the trip would be. Did those intentions change at any point for you, as you navigated through the adventure?
I don't think so. I mean, our intent really was to, get to a specific destination and just kind of be a little bit fluid on, at least on the way back, to just be open to what opportunities presented themselves, and what we might be able to do. And if it was not involving any national parks, that was okay too. I think we went into it with a good mindset that, we may have some opportunities to do some other things on the way back, and it just worked out
Yeah.
perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah. You and I are similar that way. I too love to, I'm actually all about the planning. I love the planning process. I think because it's a way to, it kind of extends the travel experience. It's not just the time that you're away on the trip, but it extends the fun and having the anticipation and something to look forward to.
Right.
And in my heart, I'm a planner, and I love having a plan. I love the research. I love just, the kind of safety blanket that that
Yeah.
gives us as we travel, like knowing we've got a plan if we need it. And at the same time, and especially as I get older, I actually really love abandoning the plan and being open to the flow of a trip.
Mhm.
For people that are a little hesitant to do that, to throw the plan out the window, what would you say to those people? What do you want them to know about that?
I am a planner. I am such a planner, and I am a control freak. I need to be in control, but I really, you know what, my husband was willing to map this out and, investigate places that we could stay. And I was just like, you know what, do that, and he did such a great job. And we tweaked it a little bit, and, we had a, first day, really long day of driving, and I knew he'd be tired. I said, let's maybe make the second day a little bit shorter. You don't want to get burned out. Um, so yes, I love to plan, and I felt kind of wonky going into this, but knowing that up front, I just, what if we got to lose? I mean, we do travel well together, and what's the worst thing that's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So let's just kind of wing it going back. And we even told our friends that were, ended up meeting us in Zion. I said to them that first night that we got together, I said, we're going into this really wonky, like, don't even know if we're going to be able to drive into the park in the morning. So I hope you're okay with just, this could go really upside down. So I think that took a lot of pressure off, because I always want everything to be perfect. I want everybody to have a great time. Um, and even going into the market that first night that we stayed in Zion, we were going to have our friends over to our campsite. We were just going to barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
We went into this little market in Zion, and we were shocked. There was no chicken breast to be found. There was one package of chicken drumsticks. I mean, and I just looked at the meat case, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, what are we going to make them for dinner tonight? There was not even any ground meat to make hamburgers. And I said to my husband, I'm like, I just need a minute. I just need to kind of walk around the store, and my friends know that I love Martha Stewart. And I just said to myself, what would Martha do right now? And so I kind of wandered around, and the pickets were pretty slim, and it's a really nice market. We've been there before. It's just the situation.
Mm-hmm.
There's no tourists. I mean, really, they were bare bones. So we got fresh produce to make a salad. There was frozen shrimp in the freezer case. So we're like, okay, let's regroup. We're gonna just grill up some shrimp. We'll make a nice salad. So things will be okay, even though you have like the very best laid plans. It's all going to work out, and you just kind of have to just let it be. Don't sweat it. So go into a trip every now and again, and don't have like every single day planned out, to the last minute. Allow yourself that extra time and extra day to just explore things that come up,
Yeah.
um, it's pretty rewarding.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm hearing so many wonderful life lessons in there of what you just shared. One is, so often we limit ourselves to this or that. So we either have to plan a trip to a T, or we have to just fly by the seat of our pants. And it doesn't have to be this or that. It can be yes and. It can act, both of those can actually coexist together.
Right.
And that makes it, that's actually a great way to ease into a new way of being, or a new way of living, or, you know, to try something on or try it out, is like, let yourself do what feels safe, let yourself do what feels natural, and then just ease into the other way that you're curious about, just one little step at a time. So, and that just applies to so many things in life, that it just opens up our options. Like, there's never just two choices. There's always infinite choices if we just allow ourselves to broaden our perspective on all of that. So I love that. I heard that in what you were saying. And I love how what you were saying about perfectionism, I can absolutely relate to that too. And that one of the gifts we receive from putting ourselves in some uncertain circumstances, or little uncomfortable circumstances, I think it can be really hard to let go of our perfectionism on our own. But when we put ourselves in some circumstances like that, it actually helps stretch us a little bit, because we have to, because we kind of don't have any other choices. And then that just invites us to tap into our creativity that sometimes we forget that we have. And like you said, even just give me a minute, just take a breath, right? Like when we're feeling a little trapped, or we're feeling like, oh, this isn't going the way I wanted it to, or the way I expected it to just take a moment and just take a breath and just breathe. And it lowers that stress response, and which also helps the creativity come back. So thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, there's so much valuable stuff in there. And just so many examples of what travel brings out for us and offers us, all those travel experiences.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty simple trip, you know, and I think if anybody's thinking about doing something like that this summer, they should go for it. You know, I just really encourage you to get in the car or rent an RV. Again, we were not RVers. This is a little later in life for us. And again, I still love to jump on an airplane and, you know, go somewhere down the road. But for right now, this is more comfortable for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that too. Thank you for sharing that it can be simple and still amazing. And it doesn't have to be super adventurous, or it doesn't have to be super far away. We can still, if it feels more comfortable to stay closer to home, we can do that, and it can still be an adventure, and it can still be new experiences.
Yeah, I had a friend reach out to me the other day. She had seen just a couple posts, photos that we had posted on social media. And she said, yeah, we have a trip planned to Mexico in June that, you know, is going to be put on hold. And she said, I've always wanted to go to Zion. And so she's actually there right now. And so I just kind of shared with her, you know, some of the things, you know, going as early as you can, and, you know, different things that I, you know, learned while we were there. And so, yeah, she's there, and she actually hiked the Narrows the other day.
I love that.
That was really cool. Yeah.
It's so fun to inspire each other. That's another reason I wanted to do this show, is we can just be so inspired by one another. Yeah, Chris and I don't even know if you know this, because we might have been doing it at the same time, or maybe you were back already, but last week, Chris and I fairly spontaneously hopped in the car and did a drive up and back on the coast on Highway
awesome.
1. Yeah. And because we thought, actually, and I was amazed, this is something I didn't know about my husband. He'd never driven that before. He literally grew up in California, and we realized that that's actually quite a locals thing. Like, locals know what that road can be like, that it's often very crowded, and it's fairly treacherous to drive, especially when you have other people on the road that maybe aren't making the best choices, you know, as they're driving. And it can be a little scary, a little harrowing. And so we thought, so it's such a locals thing for Californians to actually not take that route for those reasons. And so we thought, well, what better time in history is there to take that road, because there's probably nobody on it right now. And we could, we could almost have it to ourselves, which is exactly what it panned out to be.
Yeah.
And I've lost my train of thought on what I was going to share about that, but that, yeah, like that wasn't far from home, and it wasn't an extravagant trip, and it cost us hardly anything to do it. And yet the experience of it and the scenery that you take in, and we knew everything, pretty much everything was going to be closed. We had done like a day's worth of research ahead of time, and even the state parks along that route, a lot of them actually weren't open and you couldn't get in at all. And we decided we weren't going to let that stop us either, because we decided that just having the time together, having that unique experience together, and just getting to do that drive and take in that scenery, we decided that's the point of this trip. That's the only point of this trip. And if nothing else happens, we're okay with that. And then at that, like going in with a mindset like that, I think too, also as a traveler, it helps you be open to being like surprised and delighted along the way. When you don't know what to expect and you don't have everything planned out to a T, it's those moments of surprise and delight that you often remember the most, that become the highlights of the experience. And again, such a great life lesson in there, that we don't have to have everything organized and planned. That when we remain open to being surprised and delighted, life can be so much richer and so much more beautiful.
So true. Very true.
Yeah. So just as kind of to wrap up the conversation, Erin, do you feel like this trip, I'm curious if you feel like this trip changed you in any way? Is there anything that you're looking back on the trip, and you may not have thought of it this way before, so take a moment if you want to think about it, but when you look back on this experience, the fact that you guys chose to do this right now, when you look back on this, what do you want to remember? What do you never want to forget about choosing that and about that experience that you and your husband shared together? And has it changed you in any way when you think about the rest of your life or other parts of your life?
Yeah, I mean, I think it gave us more confidence to do, longer trips. Now we've talked about, some other places that we want to go. We have a trip planned in August to go up to Yosemite.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about going to Sedona.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we're not planning like a cross-country trip at this point, but just to get out there a little bit more. And I think, it was great for my husband just to, get away and do this. And, there was some tough driving, and I think it was, great for him to, feel confident now, going on other trips, and, just troubleshooting little things that came up on us. It just, we're a really good team, and I think this was just good for us to escape, not on our phones, not on the computer. And I think at this time, it's really what we needed, just of regroup and just think about, maybe what's possibly coming down the road, but no regrets about doing it at this time. I think we're typically a little selfish about our vacation time. And I'm not sure that this is a trip that we would have taken if we weren't just having a little extra time right now.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, everything about it was really great, and
Yeah,
to see family as well.
I love
Yeah,
it. And I love it that it gives you so much positivity to look back on from this time that has been challenging in so many ways. And yet so many surprise blessings have come out of it, is what I'm hearing.
yeah. I know. Really feel fortunate that we were able to do it.
I
Yeah,
love it. I love
yeah,
it. And thank you for shining the light on the confidence thing too. That's something else that I've come to learn, and often talk about with my coaching clients, is that confidence, you know, a lot of us feel like we need more confidence and we want more confidence. And it just kind of ends up on a wish list somewhere. And we just kind of keep hoping that it will happen, and we hope that we'll have it someday. And yet the truth is, confidence comes from taking action. It's by doing the thing that feels a little scary or a little uncomfortable. That's actually where the confidence comes from. And we don't, that doesn't mean we have to take a big leap into it. We can take a short trip. We can practice the driving and the towing of a 20-foot vehicle, you know, in a short distance or in a small way. And then that builds the confidence for those longer journeys and those longer adventures. And we can apply that to life as well. So thank
yes,
you for shining the light on that.
yes. You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me. I would love to keep talking. And you and I will offline.
About your trip now. Fine.
We'll do another episode. There's always another episode. We get to do as many episodes as we want.
Thank
But I
you.
love this. You've inspired me. I hope we've inspired, you know, someone else out there that may watch this or listen to this. And keep on adventuring, whatever way that's calling your heart and your husband's heart. And andiamo. Let's go.
Andiamo.
Let's keep going.
Definitely.
All right. So much love to you.
All
Mwah.
right. Bye, Bonnie.
All right. Bye-bye. And I'll stop the recording now and then we can chat.
Okay.